or whether you are working in an enterprise environment, you can still do a lot of innovation, you can still build a lot of impact for your company, you can even be an entrepreneur, right? This is the reason why we are actually building Devsparks. So we envision it as a nationwide movement to empower all of you with emerging tech solutions, next generation innovations and insights, all to supercharge the process of building global products out of India. We'd like to reach 1 million developers this year through a combination of summits such as this, skill development programs, recruitment initiatives, and a lot more. We decided to go with this very ambitious target because we felt like our success from last year has been pretty good. In fact, 8,000 developers managed to come on board Devsparks last year across 3 editions in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and Pune. And when they came to these events, they managed to get their hands and experience new AI LLMs, AI clouds, digital public infrastructure tools, population scale technology building products, etc. And this year, finally, we are back in Bengaluru, the place where it all started, the place where we call home Namma Uru, Bengaluru. And this is becoming even bigger. After today, we are going to Hyderabad, we are going to Chennai, Gurugram, Pune, and more. A total of 100 plus touch points to catalyze local developer ecosystems all across India. So folks, for today, we are so glad to see all of you here in the room. Great to see all of the fresh faces, the energy that you bring here on a Saturday morning. We've got some super insightful sessions planned, right from Snowflake, AWS, NVIDIA, Google DeepMind, and some really cool companies creating really cool innovation out there. We've also got a very exclusive and interesting developer community launch that we've got planned, so make sure you catch that. And we'd also like to thank our sponsors, Snowflake, AWS, EY, and all of our community partners, HackerEarth, Geeky Ants, and the product folks for making this event possible. We hope all of you enjoy everything that we've got planned today. Thank you.
Thanks so very much for that, Rishabh, for giving us that perspective onto the journey that has led us all here today and also what awaits us in the future. So thank you so very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our very first discussion and session of the day, I have a small request from you. There are a lot of bags taking up place on the chairs instead of people. So if I could request you all to perhaps, hold your bags because there's a lot of people standing. And if I could request all the people standing, there are a couple of seats here in front. I know it's a really packed house, but we want everyone to be as comfortable as possible. And once again, if I could request you to make space for the other delegates here today to have a comfortable seating position. Thank you so much. I'll just wait for everyone to get settled for a bit. You can. There's a little bit of space around here as well. And yes. Oh, a very kind gentleman is lifting up his hand to signal empty spaces. So if everyone else could do that, if you have an empty space next to you, if you could just lift up your hand so people can see you, yeah, that will make the process faster. Thank you so much. All right. Yes. Yes, there seems to be quite a few seats over here. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you for being so helpful with that, because we want everyone to actually be really comfortable and take in all the sessions of the day. And first up, we're starting with a very crucial question indeed. We're diving right in. Traditional data flows, as I'm sure all of you know, often come with a fair share of challenges. Complex SQL and insights buried deep within data assets. So how can organizations ease data access while maintaining governance and performance? Well, Kamesh Sampath, lead developer advocate Snowflake, will now join us on stage for our next session, Snowflake Cortex, revolutionizing data pipelines with native LLM integration. Please give him a big round of applause for our very first session of the day with Snowflake Cortex. Over to you.
Namaskara, Bengaluru. Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is super good. It always feels little pressure when you see so much people sitting on the whole hall, and that's the most pleasure thing that a speaker can get. And it's going to be a tech session. Obviously, it's not a traditional keynote, and you know that I'm not wearing this blazer across. So it's going to be a super technical one. And I can also answer questions after the session. Right outside, we have a booth. We can go answer the questions there as well. Let me switch on my slides and let's get started. All right. So there we go. Okay, I'll try to find a sweet spot between these two slides so that I don't obstruct you. So anything that you're seeing on today's session, I have all the resources right there on the bit.ly link that's there right below. I'll share the QR code at the end of the session. I have collated all the documents related to LLMs, Snowflake, Cortex, quick starts, demo videos and video tutorials, Coursera courses that you can take, which is also being offered by Snowflake and much more, right? All the resources are right there, which you can take and then use. And obviously, I also put my LinkedIn handle there in case if you want me to ping on LinkedIn and ask more questions about this or entertain some kind of discussions that you want to get in, right? Awesome. So this is just a normal thing that we always do because the slides are not shareable. But whatever you're seeing on the slide is as of today. So it might change. So it's not a definitive roadmap. Please do check with us back when you're trying to get something on Snowflake and other stuff, right? Great. So the very first thing I want to start this whole session is about how many of you felt that AI is complex? Can I have a raise of hands? Okay. So on, probably a little more so that the people can see. I think I see a few hands there, right? Because that's one of the things which even ran in my mind when I started with AI before joining Snowflake is that what all things we are doing. What's model, what's other stuff, like how do I connect, how do I make them load, and then I have to see tons of other blocks to kind of make things work. But naturally what happened, like at Snowflake, we got these things into this. We understood you, the developers, and we said that, okay, we are not going to make things complex for you. So our three guiding principles are making things easy, the very first thing. So we are going to show you some demos later. So we have something called as no-code solutions, where you don't need even to write one single line of code to play with your data and AI. That's a very important thing. And people who are proficient enough for writing code, we have something called as low-code solutions, where we have Python wrapper functions, SQL wrapper functions that you can use along with your SQLs to kind of interact with your data. And also, the second very important thing, we give you serverless infrastructure, meaning to say that you don't need to worry about which models you know, how many GPUs I need, how many CPUs I need, where should be my compute, how do I expose my service. You don't need to worry anything about it. We just take care of everything. But you just tell me which model you want to load. We have a plethora of models that we support. I'll show you the list of models as well. Choose the model, choose what you want to do, and then we cover everything else for you. The second important thing we kept in mind when building this whole Snowflake Cortex, which is our AI ecosystem of things, is that bringing AI to your data. So this is a very complex thing. People, when you have to understand, like whenever we interact with ChatGPT, Claude, or anything inside the market right now, everything that we type get exchanged with the provider. For example, who was OpenAI or Anthropic or anybody, or Gemma for that matter. So everything gets exchanged with them. So we made sure that we are not doing that when coming with data. So because data is very sensitive and we have lots of compliances and other stuff installed. So we made sure that it will always be an efficient thing so that like it's always safe and trusted for you, not just doing AI and sharing the data with people, right? Again, high performance, making sure that you get the optimal price for your thing with cost as well as you also get the better inference according to the infrastructure we have. The last point on trusted, again, I talked a little about when I was talking about efficiencies, that we make sure that your data is protected. Meaning to say that everything that goes within, so Snowflake is not just a platform which provides you the AI or which platform gives you data cloud or warehouse. It's a complete data cloud platform where data and governance and security stands at the bottom of the architecture. What I mean is to say that any data queries that you do basically pass through the governance layer to come to any of the applications that we have, including AI, which means that the row access policies, the column access policies, the P2 policies, or any other governance thing that you define is going to be applied even for LLM. So LLM is no exception. So any AI app that you're going to build using Snowflake Cortex is going to adhere to these principles before they can go on, right? So again, output safety, there's another very important thing that we are taking care. We've heard of guard rates, that we have guard rates implemented within Snowflake. We need to say like, because LLMs tend to give you harmful outputs, so make sure that the harmful outputs can be prevented from your application as well. I'll show a little examples when I actually run the demo form, right? So this is, I'm going to dwell a little detail into this architectural stuff which I was talking to you earlier. So how do you make things easy, right? As I said earlier, the foundation is all the models that we define and readily available for you. I'll tell you like how easy it is for you to swap the models when you want to get responses from multiple different models and compare them with a kind of building applications. We have models from Snowflake, which is an open source model, Snowflake Arctic group of models. We have Anthropic, DeepSeek, Meta, OpenAI, and Voyage AI. Everything is right now loaded for you. You don't need to worry about it. Just give the model name. And we have classified the model as small, medium, and large depending upon number of parameters that get exchanged when you kind of have this prompts done. And you also have task-specific SQL functions, which are foundations. I said earlier, making things easy, it means that if you imagine, like if you write, for example, a complete function in an LLM, right, which is the ChatGPT thing which basically do things for you, right? What basically happens, you're going to write the same boilerplate code, let's say 100 lines or 200 lines or 300 lines, if you imagine, and across all the applications. So what we make sure is that all the common things that we do with LLMs, for example, complete, extract answer, sentiment analysis, classification of text, forecasting, and all other stuff, right? We made it available as SQL functions and corresponding Python APIs readily available for you. So all you have to do is just call the functions within your SQL or from your Python APIs. And also we make sure that we also have the embedding models in case if you're using RAG with your application, retrieval augmented generation. So you don't need to worry about, hey, I have to have another vector DB to kind of store my chunks, extract and store my chunks, right? So you don't need to worry about this because we talked about earlier that we make sure that your data is protected. We don't want things to go out. Since Snowflake itself has a database natively built into it, so we have vector columns, these multi-dimensional floating point number columns which you can define on your tables and store these chunks on the table. And again, adding little spice to that, we also have corresponding SQL functions like parse document, extract document, split chunks, etc., already available for you so that you can readily extract the documents with the compute power that we give you and store them within Snowflake databases so that they are readily available for an LLM, giving you very, very high performance and secure data access. Right? And lastly, we also have something called as fine-tuned models. What do you mean by fine-tuned models is that every time you see like how you get charged for your LLMs. It's totally usually people charge you like dollar per million tokens. Token is any character that you send as part of a prompt. Any question that you ask, all the characters within the question is going to be counted towards your number of parameters that can go, right? Sometimes what happens, the bigger the parameter, the larger the model it sends. So what basically happens is that your charges also goes up because number of parameters get exchanged between the provider and yourself is going to be more, which means that is also going to get exchanged. So what you also done is that when you choose a smaller model, then the cost comes by 1/10 of it. But what happens is that the smaller models are not trained like the larger models. So what you have done in Snowflake that we have given you a no-code solution using AI/ML Studio, where you can basically go do this fine-tuning of model, take a smaller model, take a task that you have to do with a larger model, take the response out and tune the model so that the model that gives you the same response like a larger model but at 1/10 of the cost. And all these are done without even writing a single piece of code. So we have the no-code solution that you're talking about, AI/ML Studio. And then comes a little thing about agents. Agents is catching up the fever right now. Like what are agents is basically nothing but a data-driven workflow in a little sense, right? How do you connect multiple applications together in response to your prompt? That's what basically agent does. So we also have two important things under agents, right? We call them as Cortex Analyst. So what is Cortex Analyst is that it's a REST API that is available for you to query your data in natural language. Let's say I'm a business analyst and I don't know anything to write about SQL. I don't know how do I query my data and find insights from my data using LLM, using natural language. In short, talking to your data. Right? I can use Cortex Analyst to kind of query the structured data. It generates you the SQL query and give it to you, which you can basically run. I'll show you an example as well. It's a REST API, which means that you don't need to have your application right within Snowflake. You can also have any other existing applications, define the service, and call them using REST APIs. So that's the big thing which you're doing. Another which you also did was that it's calling the unstructured data. So what do you mean by querying unstructured data? Anything that is a PDFs, documents, anything, images that lies in your application. So we also have something called as Cortex Search, which is a service again which you can expose, and SQL which you can write. Cortex search can go ahead and do a search, keyword search plus semantic search. We call them as hybrid search. We clean your data and extract information out of it. Right? It ranks the results and give you the set of results based on a query. Again, using natural language, LLM queries can be used Cortex search to try to go search the data, right? Because in search, from LLM perspective, we always heard about only about semantic search. But what we have done with Cortex search is combine semantic search plus a keyword search and natural search that we do. We combine the results together, we rank them based on that and give you actual results based on them, which you can use based on anything. That's again unstructured data. And we have agents, framework that are readily available for you, which you can use to wire things up. For example, let's say I want to talk to Slack. That's a demo I'm going to show you, like how I make things go, take the data, get the response out, get it to Slack, and then show things out in Slack. Slack is one integration thing. We have Outlook integration, we have Devsparks, we have Teams. You can do any kind of integration that you want to do. Basically, agents, we give you the framework that allows you to do this stuff very easily. So all these pieces that you see in agents, like the number of lines of code that as a developer you write will be very, very minimal, very specific to your application that you're building, rather than concentrating on the boilerplate code that you usually write with these ones, right? There's also two things about this. We call a studio, that's what no-code solution, and we recently did a public review of what is called as AI observability, where you can get open telemetry based traces for your AI responses. Mean you say like how I measure my response, whether my response is grounded or it's context relevant, or the context getting added properly. So you can do all kind of these things, like how do you do for a typical application using open telemetry traces. So that's something which we added later. This whole framework, the Snowflake Cortex, is so stable that we built two applications on top of it, Snowflake Copilot and Document AI. These are all built in the same platform, which is readily available when you get into Snowflake. Right? Great. So I'll just probably I'll leave this one for just for our digestion, see like how efficient we are, Arctic LLM, Arctic Embed, and Arctic Build. These are the three open source models which is available right now in Hugging Face. On the right side gives you the retrieval system. Our text to SQL accuracy is close to 92%. So this is one of the best in market if you want to understand how do I convert my text into SQL, because we leverage an agentic workflow behind the scene to get your language, your natural language translated into a SQL. Right? Awesome. So talking about trusted data protection, we talked about role-based access controls, high accuracy, content safety. Again, we talked about observability as less. But all these are, again, you don't need to do anything extra. These are all built in. Enable, disable the features based on your needs. So you don't need to do anything very specific on that. Before I get into my demos, I want to touch upon a little thing, what I call as applied creativity. So it's basically like how do I leverage AI in your work? So many times I try to demystify few points which I felt, okay, when people are starting to use AI, irrespective of whether it's in Snowflake or whether it's some X company or Y company or Z company, that there are something which fundamentally runs in developers' mindset. So the very first thing I want to talk about is tools versus replacement. So how many of you feel that AI is replacing human creativity? 2, 3, there are a few hands here. Okay, great. No, I have to kind of go against the point saying it's not kind of technically replacing human creativity. It's basically enhancing your creativity. That's why I totally call this as applied creativity, because I'm applying something which I already learned. For example, skill application. So we learn mathematics, we learn computer science, we learn any other biology or anything else in your school. And when you come to your work, you basically apply the stuff. That's exactly what we are doing with the AI as well. If you just think for a second, pause and think for a second, we are applying, the AI is already learned that something, all our experience inside, and we are trying to apply that using AI, right? And that's where the total mindset shift comes. Because I saw a few hands when I said, wow, it's replacing human creativity, right? That's where the whole fear comes. Is AI is going to take my job out, or I'm going to be out of job a few years when AI does everything. But to be very precise, it cannot be done. Because the simple reason is that I'm using AI to enhance what I'm doing. It's not just replacing what I've already done. Humans can never be replaced. So just have this mindset shift. Don't worry that AI is going to take everything out, because without you as developers, AI cannot do anything. Because somebody has to give it a prompt. Somebody has to say what it has to do, right? It cannot naturally do like what human beings are doing, right? That's where the whole mindset shift comes, right? Again, talking about this whole applied creativity again. It's a professional toolkit. What I mean by that is that it's another what you call Outlook on your machine, or Google Chrome on your desktops, or anything else, the Google Slides or anything that's already there. You're just adding something to your professional toolkit or professional armory. It's not something totally replacing anything out, right? Human advantage, right? So because if you see, if you talked about few things, a couple of few slides ago, I talked about saying, hey, I have output guard, I have content safety, I have other things, right? And I have LLM states hallucinate a lot. So the reason for me saying this human advantage is that so I have to go and LLM, don't generate harmful content, don't generate this kind of content which is not inappropriate for this audience. Try to be gentle, try to be all these things. It means that there is no human emotion, there is no human creativity, there is no human angle or perceptives to that particular thing which you're doing, right? Which definitely has to be given by developers like you sitting down and working with AI. It cannot be done all around by itself, right? It can never be done. It can never replace human creativity for the matter. The other one is all on empowerment focus. So what I mean by the empowerment focus is that rather than thinking it's threatening me on my job, on my day work, I'm trying to see like I'm going to empower me to do something extra. For example, like there will be days like I started my coding when I used to write Java code in Notepad way back in 2000. And now a lot of IDEs came after that. We started using IDEs, right? Now we started using IDEs for a long time, and then we use all IntelliSense and everything that comes with IDE. Later, what we did right now, we have GitHub Copilot, we have Anthropic Claude models which generate code for you. It's right inside your IDE. It's not replacing anything you do because you still need to tell what it has to write and validate the code that it generated. It's not going to just go into production right away, right? And right now, what you can see is that the amount of code, the time is going to be super fast, right? It's not just replacing anything because it's enhancing your capability. I can spend more time to improve my business logic, to improve my application, to make it more robust, rather than thinking about writing all the boilerplate code that we usually write in any programming language, right? Sitting beside you, you can also have additional knowledge, additional learning from other things where it's learned from, so that it can be applied. To make things simple, for example, when calculators came, calculators were never meant to replace mathematicians, right? Similarly, when CAD came, CAD was never replacing any architects. So they were empowering them, making them more powerful in doing their everyday work. Just imagine exactly the same thing that AI is going to do. Don't ever have a fear that it's going to cut your job out, going to take you out, it's going to do all the things that you're doing. It can never happen. Nothing can replace human creativity, nothing can replace any other developers in the market. They are still need to be there to do their everyday job. Right? So what I'm going to do right now is just apply this creativity into a bunch of demos. Maybe I have 8 more minutes. I'd like to see how much you can cover. Let's go to my demo. Very first thing, I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. For example, we're talking about talking to data using context analysis. Is the thing I need to zoom it out a little bit for behind? Okay. Is it okay? Thanks. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to talk to my data, right? I have a bunch of data. I have a call transcripts, basically. This is the data I have. So I have customer support ticket that's being raised in, and then it's there sitting inside my Snowflake database. And I'm just going to use Slack in this case to query the data and get the thing for me. But this time, assume that you code, all right? The very first thing I'm going to ask is like, I have a, for example, this. If you see this data, this has a service type. Cellular or business internet or something like that. So I'm going to ask a question, or if you're familiar with Slack, this is going to be done with Microsoft Teams as well. I'm going to use this question and then say, can you show me a breakdown of customer support tickets by service type, cellular versus business internet? Again, this is a very vanilla plain English that I'm using with this particular stuff. So I'm just going to do this query across here. And it's going to go back using REST API, as I said earlier, come back with me with a query. For example, here is a completely the query that's got generated by Snowflake LLMs behind the scenes for you, Cortex Analyst, and then it gives me the whole query, support tickets with build problem, my database where I'm going to query this, service type in this one, and then give you this particular stuff. It says it's generated by Cortex Analyst. I'm asking English language queries. And I have enhanced it, getting the output from it and generating a chart for you to basically do this stuff. Again, it's talking to data in a plain English natural language. I'm not doing anything else extra here. Right? Let's try one more question and ask topics again. I just have a shortcut to do this just to save time. I'm just going to have unique customers who have raised cellular as a support ticket request. Right? Again, dealing with customer support tickets and other stuff. What you also do it. So this is one way of kind of having this, right? I'm kind of applying AI here to my creativity. For example, my creativity piece here is that how do I integrate with Slack? How do I integrate with Teams? How do I integrate with another system that you already have? Rather than worrying about it generating the query, it's going to take my job out. You agree with me? Yes, no?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So that's one thing. Again, the next one I want to talk to you about is that I have documentation for everything right up here. So there's a bunch of LLM functions, as I said, about classification of text. And these are the list of models. I have all those notebooks shared in the document that I did earlier. You can find them out. These are the bunch of models that we already have, so which I'm going to use here. And then you can also talk about these models and use the power of Snowflake notebooks. What you're seeing right now is Snowflake notebooks is that you can execute SQL, you can execute Python, you can bring in Streamlit all within one place. For example, I used to show you there's a Streamlit thing that I've did here. For example, it's going to show me a data summary here somewhere down. Let me see if that comes up. It's still reconnecting. We know about what happened with the conference Wi-Fi. So let me do it here. I'll come back to this in a second. Another one I want to show you is that this is not only just asking data, right? It can also be other things. For example, let's say you want to do a chart-based what we call chat ops or whatever we call as kind of integration with your whole system. So what do we do with that? Right? Can I generate something? For example, when I want to send something to this particular thing, let me see if that comes up in a second. I'm going to show you something which is really interesting here. I already have something for the demo just to be on safer side. You see the whole data is generated here. This is not even written by a human. For example, this is an alert that is being raised by a system. It's a serverless alert that Snowflake supports. Whenever I see a kind of a review which is more negative, I pick up the top 3 negative stuff and send it across to Slack or any other thing that you want to have and display them. The whole code block that you see there for Slack needs it to be in a specific format. So I basically tell it to generate that particular code for me. For example, let me start this one here and go down and see if I'm still there. I'll show you the code. Basically, again, this notes are available in public, so don't worry about this. Let me go to the actual place where I actually define this one and tell you what happens there. Okay, run sentiments. It's a little bigger notebook. Right there. Sorry about that, it's a little slow. See here, this is a review which I'm raising here. I'm creating an alert. Snowflake, there is something called a serverless alerts. You don't need to have any variables attached. Snowflake already takes care of all this stuff. And I'm kind of raising this question saying, okay, give me all negative sentiment scores. And if you said already did a sentiment analysis on top of my whole code. And then kind of did sentiment analysis again in an open SQL function that is available for you, which you can use. I did this and selecting all these things for the top 3 ones. And when I'm kind of saying this, I'm giving Snowflake context or complete, which is a complete function. I'm using the model here. If you remember, I showed you a list of models. You can pick up any models from there and then try to put it here. Give it a prompt saying to generate me Slack block, which is the JSON that Slack used to display stuff, and send it across to Slack whenever I see any data that is if condition here. That's exactly what happened here. It gave me top 3, 211, 83, and 223, all these are what you call the reviews, the truck reviews that I got. When you say my food truck has so many problems here, like these are the ones it's formatted for Slack, and I'm getting this thing displayed here. So it's so easy that I did not write even one single piece of code because as you saw in my code, I asked the stuff here, we can use any other thing that's supported by Snowflake. We have enough models that we support right now. Next question comes in right now, like how do I basically choose? Let me choose, I don't want to use Llama, I want to use Gemma. So how do I compare this? That's exactly where the power of Snowflake comes because this no-code, low-code solution is called as AI/ML Studio, full models with multiple prompts and see what is the response you're generating. For example, let me say, tell me about, I'm just using Claude here. You can connect your data, but since we are not, I'm just going to show you a very single thing. So I'm just going to ask this about this. This is going to give me some response about Bengaluru right now. So what you can also do here is that, let's say I want to compare the same question with a different model, right? You don't need to load models here. I just click compare here. You see a list of drop down for all the models that is supported by Snowflake here. let's we go and take Llama 3.1 4.B and ask the same question. Tell me about Bengaluru. Sorry, okay. And then now, if you see the difference right now, these two are giving me two different responses because how they are trained and what data they are trained. And this, as an LLM AI application developer, this gives you a power saying that like how I can choose which model I have to choose when I'm doing an application. Rather than using the infrastructure to load them separately, run them separately, you can just use this no-code, low-code solutions, the no-code solution, where I can compare multiple models. I can also tune those models, set temperature, set topics, set max tokens, enable context guard, everything by sitting within Snowflake, which is Snowflake's web console, without going anywhere. Right? So this is the power of what Snowflake gives you. It not just gives you the data, it also helps you to play with LLM in more easy, efficient, and trusted way. Right? I think I ran out of time, I guess. So what I will also share to you if we talk about this. I'm leaving my social handles here. You can also find me on LinkedIn if you will. I have everything right there. I think LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you want to think me about this. Before I go back, any questions, you can also join our community. We have a Snowflake user group. You can join Snowflake user group there, ask questions, talk to community, talk to other people. Everything that I use as my everything is collated. If you want to apply. Any questions that I made them there, and also let me you can go right. That's what I have. Thank you so much for my students.
Thank you so very much. And next we have a very interesting perspective because the future of software, including AI efficiency and accelerated cycle. We expect to talk about this session with a lot of actual insights and also a deeper appreciation for it. What I want to actually figure out.
Which has become a very big part of our business now. And I spend a lot of time in the San Francisco Bay Area working with our customers, building their products. And these days, I'm focusing on developer programs. How do we help developers navigate the challenges which we are seeing, the opportunities which we are seeing? How do we make sense of what AI has to offer for us? How do we navigate the complexity and the confusion which we have around us? And hopefully build some clarity. And I'm pretty sure that clarity will build together. It's not like I can do everything myself or one company can do this in themselves. We all need to share our learnings. We all need to do the right thing. So in that spirit, let me share some words. So we are all seeing AI is not stopping. Like I think a few years back, people used to say it's a fad, it's going to go away like yet another thing. No, it's here, and it is getting better and better. We are seeing agentic experiences. It's not stopping at just assistants because until few years back, people were building chatbot after chatbot, more natural language. A swarm of agents working together to complete the whole manual process. And it's not just future, it's happening actually. It's happening. A lot of companies are building fully autonomous systems using this. I know some companies in India where they have automated their support systems. They have specific categories of tickets which are now done by agents rather than humans. And I think it's not stopping. But when the opportunity like that happens, it opens a lot of questions for us. So let me ask you a question. Question which I see a lot when I talk to developers. A big change is coming in my industry, and I don't know how to be prepared. How many of you resonate with this? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, about half of you. And for those who don't, I think it's good because the clarity will keep building. It's not like today we have clarity, or you will change and say, oh, now I don't know what to do. Or you say, now this which I tried, it's so much better than what I tried earlier. So we have to keep up. We have to keep up and we have to keep learning and evolving continuously. So that's something which is a continuous process. And the flavor in which we see this is people starting with what does it mean? Like, do I start using different tools? Do I change my role? I see 70%. Which role I use AI? Like that is called. Where do I fit in? How do I I do? What is, and they're saying, right, control controllable. So what can I control? What happens? What do I control? Where are we heading? What are the things which have happened? I think it's a common question. And the presentation which I have is an attempt to give you some of the answers. Of course, a lot of these answers. People used to do that. The applications to which AI can be applied and type of solutions which can be built will keep increasing. So I think we should think of this as a positive change, which will allow us to do things which really matter and cut down a lot of not so important things which we keep doing. So we should think of that as an enabler which will help us. And in that spirit, there's another question which I keep seeing in terms of what we can do. A lot of developers are trying different tools. There's no shortage of tools. Every few weeks a new tool comes up. A tool to write code, a tool to review code, a tool to test code, a tool to create MVP, a tool to do, like I'm pretty sure we can come up with a name, at least 50 names if not more within this room. And the developer saying, I'm trying tool after tool after tool. I'm in this constant shopping spree, but it's not helping me see how my work will change. What will change? What is the paradigm shift? I start using one tool, the other tool starts working better. I don't know what to use. So that is another question which we see. And when we talk to leaders of these organizations, a lot of them are saying, we have a large workforce. What does AI mean for our workforce? Do we hire more at junior level? Do we hire more at senior level? Do we need middle level people? And a lot of these answers are also evolving as we go. And what is happening because of this is people are extrapolating based on whatever information they have. And I think there's a lot of confusion because we are not doing everything in the right way. I'll tell you why. So how many of you use generative AI for coding already? Wow, that's awesome. Almost 80% of the room. Great. And if you're not, I would say the least you should do is at least test what it can do. But we see two approaches which are very common when developers use generative AI. The first one is called AI managed approach, where you have a problem, you give that problem to AI, and expect that AI will give me an answer. It is doing to some extent. You can say build a to-do app. I think it will build a to-do app. You can say build a, let's say, a Tetris game. I built a Tetris game along with my daughter in 5 minutes because it will probably download some GitHub package which already has Tetris. It will install a Docker. All of that can be done very quickly. But when it comes to complex software, which a lot of your customers are going to use, which will be the core of your business, you can't throw that. You can't say build a shopping app which is like Amazon. It won't do it. You can't say build a system which does these 20 things. AI is not there yet. So what is happening is when we use AI managed approach where we are throwing a problem at AI, it doesn't work. We are seeing it works in small toy scenarios, it works in POC type scenarios. The bigger problem there is even if it works somehow, let's say you keep iterating, say fix it, and it ultimately works. Even then it's not your code. Ultimately you are the one who would call it your code. So it's unexplainable. You see, I don't know why it has happened so many things. And developers don't connect to it. And unless you connect to it, you'll not use it on a day-to-day basis. So that is approach one which we see a lot. Probably 80% of developers are using it. How many of you use it here? Give a big problem to AI and expect it to solve it. Looks like not many people, some of you are doing it. And then the other one is called AI-assisted approach, where you are doing the heavy lifting. You are saying, this is the design, this is how I want to solve, these are the parts which should be created. Maybe you will say, if you're a designer, some of you probably are product managers, designers. If you're a designer, you would say, can you generate a wireframe for me? If you're an engineer, you probably will say, can you write this function for me? If you're a tester, can you write test cases given this BRD? You're doing narrow tasks within the SDLC, and you're getting some outcomes because you're doing the heavy lifting and you're taking some benefits from AI where possible. There's a problem with this approach as well, which is it's not the agency promise which AI is. A lot of people say companies keep claiming 60% productivity gain, some are saying 5x productivity gain, but the reality, a lot of people are saying I'm seeing only 10-15%. The reason is developers spend most of their time, and when I say most, about 70% of time is non-coding. 30% of the time is coding. So yes, even if you improve some part of your coding, that's not enough. And there are a lot of manual inefficiencies here. You are still doing the heavy lift. You are not taking AI across your SDLC. So time which you are saving is still lost on a lot of manual processes which we have built in the non-AI era. So what I want to challenge you on is we probably need to think differently about how do we think very, very differently. What should we think? Both are these are the two approaches which we see commonly. Maybe there are more which if we have time we will talk about that. But how do we achieve the paradigm shift where your organization can release features maybe 2x, 3x, 5x faster with higher quality, with higher developer engagement where as developers you enjoy that, you feel like wow, this is the best thing I'm doing. And that's the great thing about developers. A lot of my colleagues sometimes tell, Anupam, I get to write code and I get to work with all these awesome people and I get paid for it. I think that's the best thing about developers, right? So if you enjoy the work, it's one of the best jobs. At the same time, how do we do the paradigm shift, which a lot of people are promising? Not 10-15% increment, but making us 5x, 10x engineer. What can we do there? So we have been on a mission to understand it. For last year or so in India, we have created a initiative focused on developers. We have a team working on this. We take different types of problems and solve it ourselves, along with our customers as well. And we came up with a concept called AIDLC, AI-driven software development lifecycle, which is where we are piloting and trying different ways in seeing how do productivity really happen. What are the ways in which software gets developed today, and what does future look like? What should change? And forget about everything. Forget about agile. Forget about sprint planning, retro, daily scrum. Those are things which were created pre-AI era. So what does the new thing look like in AI world? So one of the concepts which we have been using a lot is seeing a lot of productivity is mob collaboration, where a lot of engineers and product managers come together in a room and we use AI to define the product. So it will create a business requirement doc, it will create all the acceptance criteria, and every role which will be involved in building the product is in that room. So within a matter of 2-3 hours, you have a very clear BRD created. You have everybody on the same page, what is in scope, what is not in scope, what is the P0 feature, what is the P1, P2 feature, why we are not doing certain things, why we are, currently it takes many weeks to come to that level of clarity because the manager will create it in isolation, they will give it to engineer will go back and say, now this is not possible, security will come in, some UX will come in, it takes some time. So mob collaboration is where everybody comes together in the room, spends few hours together, and within those 2-3 hours you have very good clarity on what you are building and why you are building and how you are building. The second thing which we have been doing is mob construction, where we use AI to break tasks into multiple small units, and each unit is given to an independent team. Now we have been talking at Amazon with teams like 2 pizza teams and a team of 8 to 10 people, that's an atomic unit. But what we realize is with AI you need much smaller teams because a lot of roles are getting blurred. What an engineer can do versus what a tester can do versus what a product manager could do. A lot of overlap is happening because AI has that intelligence. It knows, you can tell, think like you are a product manager or you are a software architect and do this. So AI can assume roles and fill in a lot of gaps which we were not able to do earlier. So in mob construction, a team of product manager, engineer, and a DevOps or somebody from infra team, they come together, sit in on a table, sharing a laptop, and laptop has an empty chair, which is an AI. So you have AI with you, and you all are building product using AI. So we have seen teams building products which otherwise would take many months. In one case, it was 3 months of work done in 3 days. And not like any gimmicky vibe coding or whatever else. It was real production code which works, which was deployed to production and is working very well. So very happy to see what is happening. Now what does AI-driven software development lifecycle mean? What it means is we are not using AI for narrow tasks like what AI assisted is. We are not thinking of AI as a magical thing which can solve everything and throw our problem at it. We are using it in a very controlled way where we are asking it to orchestrate everything. So we are asking it to design for us, we are asking it to create a BRD for us, we are asking it to create units of work for us, decomposing it, because AI is very good when a narrow task is given to it. So we are using what AI is good at and developers retaining the ultimate control. Because as a developer, You can't have somebody else throw code at you and say, consider it your code. It's very hard feeling. I don't think the developers can do that. So developers retaining the control in terms of validating what AI should do, what it shouldn't, what decisions should be made, what shouldn't. And there are 3 steps to it: inception, construction, and operation. So in inception stage, we do mob elaboration, like the picture which I showed earlier. A team will come together, they'll build context. If you have existing code, which we call brownfield, if you have brownfield scenario, you'll build context of what this code does, create a story out of it. If it is greenfield, you'll define the product, acceptance criteria and everything, and then you'll divide it into units of work. In construction phase, these units of work are given to teams which have 3 or 4 people, and they are constructing it. They're generating code, they're designing it, they're seeing which architecture gives me more cost advantage versus more scalability. How do I deploy it? And everything is done. All deployment is also done by AI. All these things are done by AI. So everything which you are doing in this AI DLC is through AI. The work of humans is to validate. To validate, to stop AI from doing things which it shouldn't, and finally getting the outcomes which we want. So the tool which we have been using in this is Amazon Q Developer. We have a Q CLI which was launched recently. It's very agentic. You can just talk like you're talking to another person, and it will do work for you. It is a natural language, and it does like 4 or 5 things. It can help you do software development. It can do transformation from one language to another. Recently, we had a customer who was running a lot of PHP code, and as you know, PHP hard to find developers these days. People are not interested. It's also not very efficient to run PHP, especially if you compare to languages like Golang. So they converted their PHP code to Golang using this approach, and saw almost 50% reduction in their CPUs, which were needed. You can do unit testing, you can do documentation, code reviews, all of that can be done. And it doesn't have like a lot of RAM. Like a lot of people ask me, how do I learn AI? I think all you need to do to learn AI is just start using it. You will start learning by doing. I think that's the best way. In fact, one of the best use cases I see of AI right now is given a code, explain me how it works. And I think it's very good at explaining like a teacher why this line is written in this way, what other approaches exist. And I think that's a great place to start. Over time, you can ramp up and say, okay, now I know I'll start doing my test here. I'll start using it for my design consideration. I'll use it for new product ideation. So I think over time you can come up with that. But if you're not using QCLI, this is a great way to get started. It's a very low friction. All you need to do is install and just talk like a human. And over time you will learn it. And then there are a few other things which are important as we talk about AI DLC, which is AI-driven software development. Because ultimately, when you are checking in the code, your name is on the check-in. It's not AI's name. So you can't say if a bug happened or if a website goes down or the application is not working, AI did it, so don't ask me. It's not valid. It's your responsibility. So how do you make sure what AI does is considered yours? I think the only way you can call it yours is if you are in 100% control throughout the process. You shouldn't give the control to AI. AI shouldn't drive us. We should drive AI. So how do you do that? You do it by oversight, where you see what is it going to do, how do I stop it from doing things which shouldn't be done, how do I validate that what is being done is right, and inspecting AI's plan. Now, we come up with a lot of best practices to do this, solving different types of problems, ranging from building a game in a couple of days with some of our fastest growing game tech customers, to building a cost monitoring application. Recently, we built an application which is warranty management system for one of the companies. So I think we are doing a lot of work to understand how we can realize these productivity gains, not just the theory. Because there's a lot of theory. I think what really matters is what really is the productivity gain and how we can get it. So I'll share a couple of learnings. So one is when you give a large context to AI, it's not very good at processing it. So try to see what are those smaller chunks which I can divide the problem into and use AI for that. Another thing which is happening is sometimes companies are pointing or developers are pointing a large code base to AI and saying, can you refactor this or can you change this? AI is not very good at understanding a very large code base. You have to think about something called semantics per token. So ratio of semantic which is there in the context which you are giving. So for example, if there's a large file, Java file, let's say, which is creating order, all AI needs to know is this is a file which creates order using this and that. But the file itself will have a lot of instantiation, some inheritance, some other things. It doesn't need to know that. So we can maximize the semantics per token, and AI works much better that way. You can think about how do you look at what AI will do before it does it. So for example, if you tell AI to do certain thing, it will do it, but it may do it in the wrong way. It may create something which you don't need. So ask AI to plan first. Once it plans, ask it to write a plan in file and then say, only if I validate, then you work on it. I think it's a great way to do it. Similarly, thinking about how the model was trained. So if model was trained, let's say on Golang, and the Golang is a more modern programming language. So if you're doing domain-driven design using Golang, AI is not very good at it. We have seen it doesn't understand, it can't apply because the code base doesn't exist where those two are coexisting. So I think a lot of learnings which we have over this, I can't go into all of them due to shortage of time, but a lot of learnings in terms of how do we keep AI in control, how do we focus on the problem at hand, and how do we deliver this with utilizing AI as much as possible. Now, how do we do that? The program which we do is called AI DLC Unicorn Gym. Unicorn Gym is our internal construct which we have created because we have a lot of solution architects in our team. We used to come together in a room, we call them unicorns, and then they are exercising their builder muscle by building together. So Unicorn Gym is, we externalize it and we call it AI DLC, AI Driven Software Development Lifecycle. And every week we take different types of problems. Some are with customers, we'll go to a customer and build it together. Sometimes we do it internally and we say, okay, let's build this app 100% using AI. And here it should be 100% manageable. It should be production level code. It should not have any security issues. Because that's the only way we can adopt AI. Otherwise it will be a gimmicky thing which does some prototypes, but not more than that. So it has been working very well. A lot of companies are using that as an inspiration and aligning and adapting it to their companies. So if you're interested, I'm happy to talk more. But the future of development doesn't stop there. While we are talking about how software will be developed in future, the type of software which we build will also change. Right now, I remember in early days, everybody was building websites became old, then we were web applications, then mobile applications, and now we're talking of applications which have no UI at all. So what does that look like? So I'll just give you a sneak peek into it. This is something which was released by Anthropic. It's called computer use, where if you have an Excel sheet with a lot of data, you have a form to fill, you can ask computer use to take the Excel sheet and say this is the form I need to fill. It could be RFP, it could be some other things, it could be a set of things which you need to do. It will automatically identify what fields should go where, what mapping should exist. It may even create things like what should I do in future if a similar problem comes. And that is just a starting point. There's so many things which can be done when AI can do what humans are doing. And it's very likely as developers will be building more and more applications like this. So I think it's good to be having open mind, and that's why I was saying it's so good that all of you are here. Because the only way we can keep up with this change is by constantly learning and trying things. Constantly knowing what is noise versus what is real. And similarly, we released something called Nova Act SDK. So Nova Act is where it can control the browser and take actions. So for example, in this case, what you're seeing on the screen, somebody is trying to find the best cycling distance between two locations. And the AI is automatically doing it. It knows which application to open, where to click on it, what to enter in it, which buttons to click. It can understand the user interface, it can click on it, and I do feel a lot of manual work which is happening today will start happening with similar tools. So it's very important to be aware, but also experiment where possible. And finally, I would recap with a few things. We all know times are changing, which is software development, the way it happens today, probably will be very different. I would not really remove probably. I think it will be very different than what will happen in next few years. Now, in what way it happens, some of things will evolve. We can't predict future. At the same time, it's important to know that it's changing very quickly, and we need to keep up with that. Second, only when we learn and try, we will internalize. So think about that. What do you do? What tools are good for you? What tools are not good for you? So that you can cut through the noise and not just about tool. What do you do there? And reimagine, not retrofit, because sometimes we think I'm already doing all these things. I use AI here, but that's not enough. Think about how would I reimagine my work if AI is there, and then think about what does paradigm shift mean for you. It shouldn't be 10% improvement. 10% improvement you can get anywhere. So maybe not don't go for a coffee break and that's where you have 10% improvement. But how do you become a 5x engineer, 10x engineer? What does it mean actually? And how do we do that? What does that change mean? So try things like AI DLC, which I've been talking about, and you're going to see very big difference. And keep sharing with each other. This is a great forum which your story is providing us. But share these learnings in whatever forums you're part of within your companies. What is working for me? What is not? We've created an alliance called Future Developer Alliance, where people come together and talk about it. And I think the possibilities are endless there. What I would end with is there's a lot of work which we need to do as developers. I think a lot of world is looking at each other. What does future mean to us? I'm pretty sure we'll define it together. So thank you so much for coming and showing your curiosity. I do know a lot can be done together. If you have some thoughts and discussions which you want to have, please drop a note. This is very passionate about topic. And okay, we call it in Amazon, no stupid question, because if you have it, it's likely somebody else would have it.
Hi, this is Usha. So I just wanted to know, one of the slides was there, AI means no UI. So I wanted to know about that.
So can you repeat, please?
There was a slide where you mentioned AI means no UI. Right?
Oh, you're saying there's a slide that there's a promise of no UI. Yes, yes. So what I meant there is, we are talking about how software development will change. But what is also happening in parallel is, what kind of software will be built? I'm pretty sure almost every company, and you can raise your hand, is your company building something which is backed by AI? Raise your hand if it is. It is very hard to find a company which is not building a system which is backed by AI. But now when we talk about backed by AI, currently, a lot of companies are analyzing their current information and becoming more smart. Some of them are offering better user experience by intelligent chatbots. Some of them are improving the process which was done manually and accelerating the time it takes. Similarly, another change which is coming, so far we are not seeing because it just came 1 or 2 months back, is there may be applications which don't even have a UI. So all you do is just talk to them, or all you do is just write to it. And it does several things. It's already happening in travel industry. People don't want to filter, for example, I want to go to, let's say, Nainital, and these are the dates, and this is the type. Probably people are already saying, like, let me just tell this to my whatever favorite date will you use, and see what recommendations it has. But it's going to go a lot more into that direction. Thank you for the question. Yes.
So you mentioned your SKU developer and all these tools, right? I'm just trying to understand, are you using these tools within Amazon? Is there any experience you would like to share where this has led to a step change or a big improvement in terms of your own development efforts? So is it just your tools which are in the nascent stage, or they are proven to bring change in a big way?
So if I understand your question, you're saying, can you share how we have seen massive changes in how software gets developed in some of the experiences which I got? I'll share one story because not everything is public, but there was one, we had a AWS summit last week, and one of our customers called S&P Global. S&P Global is a financial services company, manages a lot of financial products globally. And they had a system which was cost monitoring system. They wanted to monitor their cloud cost and also act on the actions which can be taken to reduce the cost. So for example, if a developer has launched a machine and they're not using it, you can send an email to them that, hey, do you want to turn off the machine, or do you want to use a machine with lower power so that you don't pay as much. So they wanted to build this because their current tools were not giving it, because engineers would ignore that or say, I have better things to do, I'm not going to spend my 20 minutes turning off the machine. So what they built was, they built a agentic system which automatically identifies all cost monitoring opportunities, and agentic button where a developer, all developer needs to do is the email or the chat interface will tell them, hey developer, you're running these machines, there are three options. Either you can turn it off, or you can reduce the CPU capacity, or you can ask for an exception. Which one you want to do? And you say this one, and it will automatically do it. So it's a very simple use case. At the same time, it does take a lot at a scale when you have many accounts. You want to do it in a scalable way. They had estimated about 6 months to do that. Within a matter of 1 to 2 weeks, they were able to launch it. So there's a very big paradigm shift where the work which was planned for many months can be done in weeks. But for that, tools are not enough. No matter what tool you use, tools are not enough. You have to reimagine how do we work, because a lot of time which goes, and probably you'll relate to it, a lot of time which goes in aligning people, deciding what to build, how to build, who to take permission from, who should be part of this. And all that is cut down by some of the learnings which I shared, where people are coming together, leveraging AI for not just coding, but leveraging AI for deciding what to build. What are the acceptance criteria? How do you use it to create units of work, architecture design, building the code, testing the code, deploying the code, creating CI/CD, creating everything. So all of this can be done by AI. The tools which I showed, all of that can be done. But most companies are not using it across the cycle. Currently, they are giving it to developers, saying, use this tool and see what it does. And that's where the problem is. Thank you. Yes. The last question, and then we'll go to the next speaker.
Hi, my name is Aparna. I'm from EY. My question is about your Q developer. What is the backend foundational model? Is it an SLM fine-tuned, or you're using one of the foundational models available, or LLM model?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you're saying, what is the LLM powering Q developer? As you know, there's several models available. Some are open source, as you said, SLMs getting created, LLMs getting created. It has an intelligent layer which will decide what model to use based on the task being given. For example, if you ask it to upgrade Java, it may use a different model. Then let's say you're saying, help me create user stories for a given task. It may use some other one. By the way, we have a service called Bedrock, where all these LLMs are available through an API. So it will talk to Bedrock and decide which LLM to use based on the task being given. So you can think of it as an intelligent routing available, which will decide what LLM to talk to based on the task at hand.
So it is available foundational model, not an SLM model, right?
No, so there are things which I didn't go deep into product description, but it can do things like customization, for example, where you have an organization-specific code, and the recommendations which it should generate should be thinking about libraries which you already have rather than creating. So it will create either a pre-trained model or a RAG based on what is the need, and based on that, a lot of things will happen. So a lot of this is contextual in terms of what needs to be done. Thank you.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, and I know I told you guys that Anupam would have a lot to offer this entire audience. Anupam, in a time of evolving questions and evolving answers, thank you for helping us to future-proof.
Thank you, everyone.
A big round of applause, and thank you so much for patiently taking so many questions. Anupam is around for some more time, I think, in case anyone else has more questions, because I saw a lot of hands up. And he did mention that a paradigm shift is actually essential, and that brings us back to our big goal of the day, which I mentioned earlier today, which is supercharging innovation for 1 million Indian devs through the year. And now we're going to witness the launch of something very special indeed, a specially curated program to do just that. And may I call on Rishabh Mansoor, Head Community Your Story, to please tell us more about this very exciting launch. Rishabh, over to you.
Yeah, folks, I am absolutely thrilled for all of you to be here and witness the launch of a brand new developer community program that Your Story is launching. We are calling it the Builders Guild. Please feel free to scan the QR code and let me quickly tell you a little about it. What we're trying to do through the Builders Guild is we're trying to target some of the best developer communities out there, and you can already see that we've already